What happens when the world's richest man disguises himself as a homeless nobody to test society's kindness? The shocking truth he uncovers will leave you questioning everything. Elon Musk sat in his sprawling office, staring out the window as the Los Angeles skyline shimmered under the afternoon sun. His mind wasn't on the latest SpaceX launch or Tesla's quarterly performance. No, today was different. He had been scrolling through news articles about inequality, stories of people slipping through society's cracks, and a particular headline caught his attention. Do luxury hotels really treat everyone equally? A seed of curiosity planted itself firmly in his mind. Elon wasn't someone who just wondered. He acted. And this time, his action would take him far from the world of billion-dollar boardrooms. He wanted to see it for himself, to experience life from the other side. The idea felt both outrageous and thrilling. Go undercover as a homeless man and walk into one of the country's most prestigious hotels. Elon's assistants were baffled when he casually mentioned his plan. But why? One of them asked cautiously. Elon smiled. Because sometimes the only way to understand the truth is to live it. Within days, his transformation was underway. A makeup artist discreetly hired for the task made him almost unrecognizable. His usually polished appearance was replaced with unkempt hair, a scruffy beard, and second-hand clothes that smelled faintly of damp. Looking in the mirror, even Elon barely recognized himself. The destination was chosen carefully. A luxurious hotel in Beverly Hills with a reputation for catering to the world's elite. He booked a suite under a pseudonym, paid in advance to avoid any complications, and headed out to begin his social experiment. As he approached the hotel's towering glass doors, he felt a twinge of something unusual: vulnerability. For the first time in years, Elon Musk wasn't entering a room where people knew his name or fought for his attention. He was nobody. Would the world's richest man still matter if he appeared to have nothing? He was about to find out, and that question would unravel in ways he never expected. The doorman barely glanced at Elon as he approached the gleaming entrance of the hotel. His gaze swept over the scruffy clothes and worn sneakers, and for a split second, his hand twitched toward the radio clipped to his vest. Elon hesitated but then pushed forward, gripping the duffel bag slung over his shoulder. As he stepped inside, the contrast was staggering. The lobby was a vision of opulence. Marble floors polished to a mirror shine, chandeliers dripping with crystals, and a faint scent of something floral wafting through the air. Yet none of it felt welcoming. Behind the reception desk, a woman in a perfectly tailored uniform straightened her posture as her eyes landed on Elon. Her smile was professional but strained, as though she was trying to determine if he belonged there. "Can I help you?" she asked, the words tinged with doubt. "Yes, I have a reservation," Elon replied, his voice steady but intentionally unassuming. He slid the printed confirmation across the counter. Her brow furrowed as she scanned the document. For a moment, she seemed to debate whether to challenge him further. "One moment, please," she said, stepping into a back office. Elon felt the weight of several eyes on him. A couple seated in the lounge whispered behind their hands. A passing waiter slowed his steps, his tray wobbling slightly as he openly stared. Minutes felt like hours before the receptionist returned. Her smile was tighter this time. "Mr. Peterson, your suite is ready," she said, emphasizing the name on the reservation as though it couldn't possibly belong to him. As he followed the bellhop to the elevators, Elon noted the sidelong glances and hushed murmurs trailing behind him. The judgment in the air was almost palpable. The suite was everything you'd expect from a luxury hotel. Spacious, modern, and dripping with amenities. Yet Elon wasn't there to admire the view or indulge in comfort. He sat down, grabbed a small notebook, and jotted down his first impressions. First contact, hesitation, judgment, reluctance to engage. He wrote, Elon knew the next phase of his experiment would reveal much more. He would interact with staff in different roles, housekeeping, room service, event management, and observe how their treatment varied. His focus sharpened, but nothing could have prepared him for what happened next. The next morning, Elon ventured out of his suite, deliberately dressed in the same rumpled clothes from the day before. His first stop was the hotel cafe. The hostess's welcoming smile faltered when she saw him approach. "Table for one?" he asked, trying not to let her reaction bother him. "Of course," she replied. Forcing politeness through her eyes darted toward the manager hovering nearby. She led him to a table near the back, far from the picturesque window views reserved for more presentable guests. Elon sat silently, observing the room. Waiters buzzed around other tables with practiced charm, their voices warm and inviting. At his table, the service was notably slower. The waiter seemed to forget his coffee order until Elon politely reminded him. As he sipped the lukewarm drink, Elon wrote in his notebook, "Warmth proportional to perceived wealth." Later that afternoon, Elon decided to test the concierge. Standing near the desk, he overheard an exchange with a well-dressed couple. The concierge was all smiles, bending over backward to accommodate their request for last-minute dinner reservations at a high-end restaurant. When it was Elon's turn, the energy shifted. "Yes?" the concierge asked, barely glancing up from his computer. "I was wondering if you could recommend a nearby restaurant," Elon said. The man sighed audibly, his tone clipped. "There's a diner down the block. Affordable." "Thank you," Elon replied, fighting the urge to challenge the bias outright. Not everyone, however, treated him this way. That evening, when he called for extra towels, a young housekeeper named Natalie arrived at his door. She carried herself with quiet confidence, her uniform slightly too large for her petite frame. "Here are your towels, sir," she said with a warm smile, her tone genuine and kind. "Thank you, Natalie," Elon said, noting her name tag. "Of course. Let me know if you need anything else," she replied before turning to leave. Something about her demeanor struck him. Unlike the others, Natalie didn't treat him as an inconvenience or an oddity. She simply saw a guest in need. Elon decided to test this further. Over the next 2 days, he requested small things: a fresh pillow, a toothbrush, directions to a nearby park. Each time, Natalie responded promptly and without hesitation. On the third day, when she brought his morning coffee, he had specifically requested her for room service. Elon asked, "Do you enjoy working here?" Natalie hesitated but then nodded. "It's a good job, hard work, but I meet interesting people." Her answer was careful, but Elon sensed there was more beneath the surface. He watched as she left, scribbling in his notebook, "Kindness is quiet but unmistakable." Little did Natalie know, her small acts of kindness were about to change her life forever. By the fourth day, Elon had seen enough to piece together a pattern. The opulent facade of the hotel masked a clear divide in how people were treated based on their appearance. Most of the staff, from the receptionists to the concierge, operated with a transactional coldness, as if kindness were reserved for those who looked the part. Natalie, however, continued to stand out. That evening, when Elon crossed paths with her in the hallway, he struck up another conversation. "You're always so polite," he said, his voice casual but curious. Natalie shrugged modestly. "It's how I was raised. My mom always said you should treat everyone with respect, no matter who they are." Her words lingered with him. They were simple, yet they carried a weight that contrasted starkly with the shallow interactions he'd experienced elsewhere in the hotel. Later that night, while reviewing his notes, Elon decided to push the experiment further. He purposely left his room in disarray, towels on the floor, coffee spilled on the desk. When Natalie arrived for housekeeping the next morning, she didn't flinch. Instead, she rolled up her sleeves and got to work, even humming softly as she cleaned. "Sorry about the mess," Elon said, testing her reaction. "It's no trouble at all," Natalie replied with a smile. Elon couldn't help but admire her composure. Even when faced with unnecessary challenges, she maintained her kindness. Meanwhile, word of the scruffy guest in the suite had spread among the staff. Elon overheard snippets of conversation in the lobby. "Why would someone like that stay here? I bet he's some kind of eccentric artist." Their whispers only reinforced his observations about bias. But rather than confront them, Elon stayed the course. By the 6th day, he had devised his plan. A meeting with the entire staff was arranged under the pretense of a hotel-wide announcement. Management insisted on his presence, still unaware of who he truly was. Elon dressed in his usual understated yet sharp attire for the occasion, leaving behind the scruffy disguise. As he walked into the conference room, conversations halted. Every staff member froze, their eyes widening as they realized who stood before them. "Elon Musk?" One voice murmured in disbelief. Elon smiled faintly. "Good morning, everyone. I wanted to thank you for your hospitality over the past week." A murmur swept through the room. Confusion and embarrassment etched on many faces. But what Elon revealed next would leave them utterly speechless. Elon let the silence hang in the room for a moment, the weight of the revelation settling over the staff. Then he began speaking, his tone calm but purposeful. "For the past week, I've been staying here, though not as myself." He gestured toward a photograph displayed on the projector screen, showing him in his scruffy disguise. Gasps rippled through the room as recognition dawned on their faces. "I came here to understand something I've been wondering about for a long time. How does the world treat people who don't fit a certain image?" What I experienced was eye-opening. Elon paused, scanning the room. Some staff members avoided his gaze, their expressions a mixture of guilt and discomfort. "There were moments when I felt invisible, unwelcome," he continued. "But there were also moments that restored my faith in humanity. Small gestures of kindness, like those from Natalie." He turned to the young housekeeper, whose face flushed with confusion and surprise. "Natalie," he said, "you didn't know who I was, and yet you treated me with respect and genuine care. That kind of compassion is rare, and it shouldn't go unnoticed." The room fell silent as Elon's words sank in. He shifted his focus to the management team. "I've decided to make a donation to improve working conditions for everyone here. That includes better wages, expanded health benefits, and opportunities for growth within the organization." Applause erupted, though some clapped hesitantly, unsure if their earlier behavior might have cost them goodwill. Then Elon turned back to Natalie. "And for you, Natalie, I have something special. I believe your kindness and empathy are qualities we need in leadership. I'd like to offer you a position at one of my companies, where you'll be trained and mentored to take on a management role." Natalie's eyes widened, her hands flying to her mouth. "Are you serious?" she whispered. "Very serious," Elon replied, smiling warmly. "You have what it takes to inspire people, and I want to help you reach your full potential." The room erupted in applause again, louder this time. Natalie, overwhelmed with emotion, wiped tears from her eyes. "Thank you, Mr. Musk. I don't know what to say." "You've already said enough," Elon replied. "Just keep being yourself." But the story didn't end there. It had only just begun. In the days following Elon's revelation, the atmosphere at the hotel shifted dramatically. Conversations that had once been filled with judgment were replaced with reflection. Staff members who had overlooked their biases began treating every guest with a renewed sense of respect. Management implemented new training programs, emphasizing empathy and equity in customer service. Natalie, however, was the talk of the hotel. Her coworkers, many of whom had dismissed her quiet kindness as unremarkable, now looked at her with newfound admiration. Guests, too, began noticing her thoughtful demeanor, leaving glowing reviews about the housekeeper with the heart of gold. Elon arranged a private meeting with Natalie before leaving the hotel. Over coffee in the lounge, he explained the role he had in mind for her at one of his companies. "You'll start as a leadership trainee," he said. "It's a big step, but I'll make sure you have all the support you need." Natalie hesitated, her hands clasped tightly around her cup. "I've never done anything like that before. What if I'm not ready?" Elon leaned forward, his voice steady and encouraging. "Natalie, the best leaders aren't the ones with perfect resumes. They're the ones who care about people. You've already proven you have that." Her eyes shimmered with tears, but this time they were tears of hope. "Thank you," she said softly, "for believing in me." Elon smiled. "Don't thank me. Just promise to pass it on. One act of kindness can change someone's world, just like yours did for me." When Elon departed the hotel, it was with a sense of accomplishment. Not for what he had done, but for what he had witnessed. The experiment had revealed more than just the biases of a luxury hotel. It showed the power of small actions, the kind that ripple outward in ways no one can predict. Natalie's life changed completely in the months that followed. She thrived in her new role, her confidence growing with each challenge she overcame. The lessons she'd learned from her humble beginnings never left her, shaping her into a leader who prioritized people over profits. Meanwhile, the hotel itself became a model for inclusivity and fairness, thanks to Elon's donation and the new policies it funded. Guests from all walks of life began to remark on the warmth of their experiences, not just the luxury of the accommodations. Kindness isn't just an act, it's a force. And when it's genuine, it has the power to transform lives, entire communities, and even the world. This story reminds us that the way we treat others speaks volumes about who we are. Every interaction, no matter how small, holds the potential to make a lasting impact. Elon Musk's experiment revealed the power of empathy, and Natalie's actions proved that kindness is a strength that can shape the future.